thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Wednesday, January 24th, and today is Library Shelfie Day. Not sure what that really is supposed to mean, but it's definitely not Selfie Day in the library. It's also National Peanut Butter Day, National Compliment Day, and, oh, Rico, this is going to be your favorite for all the dads out there. It is also Beer Can Appreciation Day. What do you think about that?
I don't drink beer.
You don't drink beer? No, just a beer belly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Getting there. Getting there.
All right.
Getting there. I'm earning my stripes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But without further ado, we are going to kick it off with the dope dad himself. That's right, it's Rico Lamitte, who has the Quasimodo rocking the stylish happy cabbage hat. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Appreciate the love, Jason. Appreciate the love. But unfortunately, I do not have the happy cabbage hat.
He does. No, Quasimodo does.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
See?
apologize.
Oh, so you were identifying as Quasimodo for the purpose of your statement. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not down. That's big. I'm not touching it. But today, I have a sad update on a story we've been covering over the last couple of months because the first official successful defense of murder by using cannabis-induced psychosis is upon us, because the woman who stabbed her boyfriend to death is going to be walking free, 2 years probation, because she said her boyfriend gave her high-potency weed. So this story's coming in from Ventura County after a jury found this woman guilty in December of involuntary manslaughter and killing triggered by cannabis psychosis. Bryn Schafer, she was sentenced Tuesday to 2 years probation and no prison time. After a jury found her guilty in December of involuntary manslaughter and a killing triggered by psychosis, sentence drew sobs of relief from Schafer and her loved ones, while family members of the victim, 26-year-old Chad O'Melia of Thousand Oaks, exclaimed in shock and anger. "Oh my God," they said. Ventura County Superior Court Judge David Worley said his decision was based on the lack of culpability, asserting the senseless killing early morning, May 28th, 2018, was propelled by a psychotic episode. The experts for the prosecution and defense attributed to the bong hits of marijuana Schafer and O'Melia smoked. From that point forward, she had no control over her actions, is what Worley said before announcing probation and a suspended prison sentence of 4 years. The incarceration could be imposed if Schafer, who turns 33 on Thursday and lived in Thousand Oaks at the time of the crime, violates probation. Sentence also includes 100 hours of community service focused on raising awareness about the effects of marijuana-induced psychosis. Moments after the verdict, the victim's father, Sean O'Melia, accused Worley of bias and said the ruling set a dangerous precedent. He just gave everyone in the state of California who smokes marijuana a license to kill someone, is what he said. Schafer's father, Mike Schafer, declined comment. Her lawyer, Bob Schwartz, said he was happy for the family. Judge Worley did the right and courageous thing. Schafer and O'Melia initially met at a dog park and had been dating for just weeks before they smoked marijuana together at his apartment in Thousand Oaks late night, May 27, 2018. Testimony showed that under the influence of a quote-unquote psychotic episode, she stabbed O'Melia more than 100 times with different knives.
Wow.
Also stabbing herself and her dog. And that's what really tipped the defense there, tipped the prosecution into saying maybe she was crazy because she was a quote-unquote dog lover. And there's no way she would have stabbed her dog unless she was having a psychotic episode, which was induced by cannabis. So I'm going to refrain from going too deep into this one because of the legal implication. I'm glad we have Dale on with us today. I'm going to open up this conversation because this is batshit fucking crazy. I'm sorry. I know we're supposed to cuss the first 10 minutes of the show, but this is fucking crazy. And I agree with this gentleman's family's lawyers here. Like, you have literally just opened Pandora's box and you do some wild, crazy shit here in California, and now there is precedent to just blame the weed.
Your volume down.
I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street. Let's talk about it.
Oh, man, bro. I'll tell you what, man. If I commit some crime like this, I'm just going to hurt myself, too, and then that way I can use the same defense.
This is not the first time, guys.
This is
not.
Yeah.
No.
Back in the late 30s and early 40s, the federal government's marijuana expert, a guy named Dr. Munch, a veterinarian who did his work on dogs, testified 4 times in trials where women stabbed their husbands or significant others and claimed was marijuana-induced psychosis. And this idiot got on the witness stand and said, I smoked weed, I turned into a bat, blood dripped off my fangs, and therefore this woman had the same thing, and you shouldn't convict her. And all 4 of them were acquitted. Then Harry Anslinger called him up and said, what the fuck do you think you're doing? You're the federal expert. You're in these trials. One more time, you're no longer the federal expert. And it stopped. Mm-hmm. And now this is sort of a diminished capacity type of an argument. Oh, I didn't know what I was doing because I smoked weed, like Dan White when he killed 2 people and said, oh, I was eating Twinkies. No, it's absolutely horse shit. But, a good lawyer can convince a jury of all kinds of things.
Yeah, the power is persuasion, right, Dale?
Yeah.
Man.
And you got to leave your common sense at the front door to buy that truckload of bullshit. But, here it is. It's done.
Is there any way that the family can appeal?
Well, it depends on how it was instructed, whether the judge made rulings that let evidence in or kept it out. There are some grounds for typically factual findings by a jury don't go very well in appeal. But in order to get this in front of a jury, they had to be instructed about something. And involuntary manslaughter tells me that the jury didn't think it was an intentional killing. It was involuntary. And it's manslaughter. It's not with malice aforethought. But that's about as far as I can go on this record. It's a dangerous precedent. As anybody who's experienced with pot, and you tell me I've been smoking pot for 50 years, and I smoked it, and I stabbed some guy 50 times in the dog, and it's like I don't buy it.
Over 100 times with more than one knife.
Man,
that's rage.
She must work out. She must work out.
I mean, that's incredibly fatiguing in and of itself, right? But let's not also forget that there was, Enrico, I was going to cover this article this morning too, so I read it this morning, and apologies for the dog in the background. But there is a sentence in there where she said something to the, Winston, stop it. where she said that she would not have smoked marijuana in that moment or ever. Right? And to me, that implies that she's done it before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so why did those episodes not result in a psychotic break? And
In the
also,
original story, in the
read,
original story,
want to read all the testimony from this trial.
Mandy, in response to that, in the original story, she said that it was his weed, like whatever weed that he gave her.
It's always the guy's fault.
It was super high potency, and that's what made her go crazy.
I'm not buying that for a second. I think she was already batshit crazy to begin with.
Does she have a long-standing psychiatric background? I mean, is this something that she's been under treatment for? Schizophrenia, these kinds of personality disorder episodes can come on out of nowhere, really unexpectedly, right? They can, but this is like a whole nother level.
I'm going to take the filter off on this.
Yeah,
I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm going to say not only bullshit, I'm going to call out the double standard of the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call this the white woman defense. And that's what she got.
The Karen defense.
Because I know plenty of black and brown people that are sitting in prison right now for smoking weed and then doing a crime, and they didn't get a defense that says you got to smoke weed and get out free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, officer. I was on some crazy weed. I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The testing lab said it was 50%, right? Yeah.
Oh,
it's nonsense.
Anna Lewis is in the chat, and she says, "I bet if you ask her ex, he'd say he's not surprised."
Well, and there's where we might have some grounds for appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm working this case up and I'm looking for witnesses and the judge doesn't allow testimony or documents in or things like that, showing her past history of being neurotic as hell and perhaps having psychotic issues in the past, I don't know, there might be some grounds in there. But it's, as Luke called it, if you have a good lawyer and your color of your skin's the right, a lot of shit happens in the criminal justice system. But if you don't have a good lawyer, you're not the right color, that shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too hard to say that without having a big anger lump in my stomach. Because I sat and talked with people in prison, and I Luke did too, that are doing 10, 15, 20 pieces for basically nothing, and it's legal today.
Yep.
And it's like, how in the hell can we have this system when everyone I'm looking at here is not the same color as me? And I mean, even I was told, we were the golden children, you shouldn't be involved in it. Well, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay. We're the white, blue-eyed people that, you're not supposed to be involved in cannabis. I mean, that was the direct statement was made to me by my law enforcement friends. And it's like, okay, well, now it's on because I'm white. But I got treated better than the average person that's not my color, and there's something inherently wrong in that.
Luke, I totally agree with you on this, Luke. I think you hit the nail on the head with this one. This is the total Karen defense.
I agree. I think that Laura Ingram, Tucker Carlson, and Kevin Sabet are going to have a field day with.
Oh, yes, they are. Oh, yes, they are. Because first of all, they're going to have the argument to say how cannabis causes psychosis. Okay, and then they're also going to have the argument of how crime is not prosecuted in California. And they're going to have a field day with this story. They got at least a week's worth of talking points out of this story, out of this judgment for sure.
At least a week. At
least. Thank God it's Wednesday.
Yeah, and really what it ends up being is just a woman I won't say a woman, but a criminal defense attorney using cannabis as a scapegoat. And that's really what ended up happening. She probably, it's very speculative of a lot of the circumstances that went on, but we can obviously see that the attorney saw that this was going to be an angle that he could use. And listen, that's what attorneys do. I'm not mad at him. That's what he's paid to do. He or she is paid to do. They are paid to find the best defense, present the most compelling story, and convince a jury to not put me in jail. So if the attorney obviously accomplished that, But the whole thing that how this is being portrayed in the media is just BS. It's total BS. It was a cop out. It was a scapegoat to be able to use to get out as in a defense. And had this been someone that didn't look like whatever her name is, it would have been a totally different outcome. And I hate to say that. I hate to put out, or I don't hate it actually. I actually like to call out the double standard of justice because it's something that we have to fix. It's something that we can't continue to do and call it justice because it's not.
Dale, do we know the name of the attorney that represented her?
I haven't read the story.
Okay.
Typically, they'll put the name at the bottom. If it's from Law 360, they'll give you the name of the law firm.
Well, basically, Dale,
my question is about the expert here.
You have it, Rico?
If you're looking at somebody who's going to take the witness stand and say, I'm an expert in marijuana, first of all, okay, how did you get there? What's your foundation to say that smoking weed makes you lose your shit and stab somebody 100 times with 3 different knives? I mean, where do you get to that point? Because that, for me, I mean, I've qualified and testified as an expert on marijuana in trial before, okay? And I've never heard of this being legitimate. And I've argued with psychiatrists about how they claim smoking weed causes psychotic breaks and triggers schizophrenia. And I point them back to the Indian Hemp Commission report that kind of put the poo-poo on that. This was 120 years ago, where they said now that, eating hash does not make you schizophrenic. It may exacerbate, it may bring it on, but it doesn't cause this stuff. And I'd want what we call a 730 exam. If you're going to raise this, I want psychiatrists to evaluate you and see if you're competent. I say this. I think that's why I don't have enough information yet.
I think this lady should get locked up and sent to Waterbury.
Hey, Jason, this woman, her lawyer,
yes,
is Bob Schwartz from Wine Reeb Law Firm, criminal defense lawyer. And he is the type of guy you would see on billboards. His website is www.wehatejail.com.
Hey, just so you know, Dale, you guys, Armada Law Practice should look into recruiting this guy because apparently he comes up with amazing self-defense arguments.
This guy is fantastic. Yeah. Donald Trump should hire this guy.
Oh, man.
How about that?
Yeah, reaches.
Oh, man. Adam just pulled up a picture. He's going to post this picture of this guy. Oh, man.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There we go.
From the side of a bus, right?
Yep.
Oh,
there he is.
Look, there he is. You guys see him? There he is.
I think he's DeSantis, best friend or uncle.
Hey, wait a second. Is
that Joe Biden's stunt double?
That's the CEO of Cureleaf.
Oh, no, it's not. Oh, man. On that, we are going to roll into a commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Look at that Prophet commercial, man. Look at that stylish logos.
Prophesizing like a
definitely like that last bit of advice someone left.
Prophesizing. Up next, he is the High at 9 News head honcho, known for smoking the best weed in the world, and when he's not cruising the friendly skyways in his private jet, you just might catch him in a mink coat in Detroit, where they call him White Gucci, down in Mar-a-Lago, where they call him Gucci Blanco, or over here on the left coast, where they call him the cannabis industry's very own Kaiser Brose. Coming to the stage, yes. Jason Beck. What do you have for us today?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. How are you guys doing today? Happy hump day. Today, my story is a follow-up story from a story that I recently reported here on High at 9 News. Mississippi restrictions on medical marijuana advertising are upheld by a federal judge. A federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit filed by the owner of a medical marijuana dispensary who sued Mississippi over state regulations that he says censor business owners by preventing them from advertising in most media. In a Monday ruling, U.S. District Judge Michael P. Mills said he agreed with Mississippi's argument that since the possession of marijuana remains illegal under federal law, it is not a lawful activity and therefore does not enjoy the constitutional protections granted to some forms of commercial free speech. After Mississippi legalized medical cannabis for people with debilitating conditions in 2022, Clarence Crofit II opened True Source Medical Cannabis in Olive Branch, Mississippi. But he says he has struggled to reach customers because the state has banned medical marijuana businesses from advertising in any media. Mills said unraveling Mississippi's restrictions on marijuana advertising would be a drastic intrusion upon state sovereignty. And in quotes, this is particularly true considering the fact that by legalizing marijuana to any degree, the Mississippi legislature has gone further than Congress itself has been willing to go, Mills wrote. In light of this fact, on what basis would a federal court tell the Mississippi legislature that it is not entitled to dip its toe into the legalization of marijuana, but instead had to dive in headfirst into it? In a statement on Tuesday, Crofit maintained that Mississippi's regulations violate the First Amendment rights of businesses. He plans to appeal the decision to the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. And in quotes, he says, "I'm prepared to fight this fight for as long as it takes," Crofit said, "and the case is bigger than me and my dispensary. It's about defending the right of everyone to truthfully advertise their legal business in the cannabis industry." Crofit, who is represented by the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit libertarian law firm, sued the state's Department of Health Department and Revenue and Alcohol Beverage Control Bureau, and Crofit has said he cannot place ads in newspapers or magazines or television or radio or even on billboards that he already owns. The state cannot prevent dispensaries from placing appropriate signs on their properties or displaying products they sell on their websites. All other advertising restrictions are up to the state health department, which prohibits dispensaries from advertising or marketing in any media. Those regulations are unconstitutional, Crofit's attorneys argue, and in quotes they say, "When Mississippi legalized medical marijuana, it relinquished its power to censor speech by medical marijuana businesses," said Ari Bargal, an Institute for Justice attorney. "If a product is legal to sell, then it is legal to talk about selling it." While President Joe Biden pardoned thousands of people who were convicted of use of simple possession of marijuana on federal lands, marijuana remains a controlled substance under federal law, and as long as marijuana remains illegal under federal law, states have leeway to regulate how the substance is advertised, Mills ruled. Plaintiffs thus argue that Congress and President Biden have all but made the possession of marijuana lawful, which strikes this court as a tacit admission that it still remains illegal under federal law, Mills wrote. Well, I really support this guy. I hope he's victorious in his appeal, and I do agree with him that the state doesn't have the right to violate his free speech in the regards to advertising for this. But I want to see what you guys have to say, and thank goodness we have a lawyer on the stage today. That's right, it is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this?
Commercial
First of all,
speech.
we put way too much on Dale. Sorry, Dale.
It's commercial speech.
Right.
And the person here is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And the First Amendment is not pure when it comes to businesses and commercial speech.
But hold on, Dale. Mitt Romney said corporations are people too.
Well, of course they are. And you go back to the I think it was the 1880s, the first time the Supreme Court adopted the proposition that a corporation is a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a real tangible person. And we've been struggling ever since. And what right does a corporation or a business entity have as a person? Okay, as opposed to a person, someone that's, flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
And here in California, what we did to obviate this problem is we passed laws that allowed advertising, but you couldn't put up a sign on an interstate highway because that crosses state lines and it creates federal issues and problems here. Because this remains a federally illegal substance, the states can duck and hide behind that. And so I'm not particularly hopeful they're going to win this on appeal.
So you think that the state was how the laws are written are fairly correct in their stance, and basically he doesn't really have a leg to stand on his appeal, is what you're telling me?
Well, from a legal standpoint, yeah. I mean, I disagree with it because I watch commercials every day for all kinds of goddamn drugs that make you shit and puke, and be careful, it'll have you have a psychotic episode, and oh, by the way, it makes you feel better. We watch that all day long. No one seems to care about those, but this one is going to bring up the ire of those who hate weed, and there's legal cover here. So, I mean, I'm not real hopeful, honestly.
Do you have some on this, Mandy? Mandy, you with us? Did you have some on this, Mandy? She on mute.
She does, but let me jump in real quick.
Go for it,
here.
Luke, please.
This whole situation, when we have like these restrictions on cannabis businesses, it's like it's suffocating, right? It makes it to where you can't do this, you can't do that. You got to be this many feet from this. You got to be this many feet from that. Your hours of operation have to be this. You have to pay this many taxes. And then they say, oh, look, Kevin Sabat goes, oh, look, it's a failed marijuana program. You know what I'm saying? So we have to get away from this idea that like cannabis advertisements have to be any different, medical cannabis advertisements have to be any different than any other pharmaceutical advertisement. Why is that like such a crazy thought? You know what I'm saying? Like
about alcohol.
Yeah, I mean,
we advertise alcohol all the time. No one cares about kids watching an alcohol commercial. Here, Dad, here's your beer, Dad. You little fucking kid hands Dad a drink or a beer or a glass of wine, and no one cares. But they lose their mind over this shit. It's just unbelievable.
I agree with you. Major hypocrisy right there. Major
Granted, like this is the situation that always happens, right? They always want to play both sides of the fence. When it's convenient, they say, "Oh, a federal law prevents us from doing that." And then when it's not convenient, they say, "Oh, well, we are sovereign and we get to make our own laws." So it's like you can't have both. It's either we are a sovereign state and we get to make our own laws that aren't made by the federal government, or the federal government takes over everything. Which one do you want? Pick it.
I agree.
Right. Yeah, I can't agree with you more, Luke. They say treat it like medicine, and you can't advertise like medicine can advertise. They say treat it like alcohol, tobacco, you can't advertise like alcohol and tobacco. So just make it illegal and just let the trap win. The trap hasn't advertised.
That's right.
That's
right.
100+ years.
Maybe you should start.
And, they're gonna win regardless. It ain't like it's not gonna sell. You know what I'm saying? But you're just taking people's abilities to run their business competently away from them. That's what you're doing.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
And we are going to roll right on into Mr. Attorney Dale Schafer. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice, and at one point in time, he did some time for a cannabis crime. And today, it looks like he has to go to court. He has afternoon court because he's all dressed up in a suit and tie today. That's right. It's none other than attorney Mr. Dale Schafer.
Yep. Yo, Loco, and I'm dressed like I'm going to court. I'm going to try to speak the King's English for a second or two here.
All right.
And not say fuck or something else. That's why I got to be careful in court after prison. Okay. My story today, I'm sure you've heard me talk about, I'm a veteran. I represent a whole bunch of veterans, and we've had problems with veterans wanting to get a medical marijuana card when they know it's going to make your possession of guns illegal. But what we have today, and I'm happy to hear this or see this, as we have an elected district attorney in Pennsylvania who has joined with a nonprofit educational group called the Second Amendment Foundation. And they have sued the federal government, Merrick Garland, the head of ATF, the head of the FBI. And they've pointed out that we have a right to have guns. Okay. This district attorney has a medical marijuana card out of Pennsylvania, and he understands that with that card, he cannot possess or transfer guns, can't even buy ammunition, if he is an illegal user or addicted to marijuana. Okay, first of all, addicted to marijuana just makes my stomach turn, but the federal law says, anybody who's been involved with this knows the federal law has evolved to a point where you can't use marijuana and buy a gun if you're honest. They put out a form, they develop regulations and put out a form that specifically asks you to use marijuana. Are you illegally used or addicted to any controlled substance, including marijuana? They're very specific about this. And if you're honest, you're never going to get a gun. And if you lie, now you're committing perjury and you can be in some serious trouble. So this district attorney joined with this group and said, all right, I have a card. I want to possess and I want to buy guns. I can't do that. So he has asked the federal court to declare this federal law illegal, which specifically says that if you use marijuana, you can't buy a gun. He wants that specifically stricken down, not only as written, but as applied to him and anybody else who's a medical marijuana patient now or wants to be one. All the regulations, customs, practices, everything else, the paperwork, they're asking the court to throw all this shit in the trash can because it violates our Second Amendment rights. Okay. Now, back when I was doing a lot of recommendations with Molly, I actually had DAs, teachers, corrections officers, psychologists, physicians, a lot of people with licenses that wanted to keep on the down low, but they wanted to be able to defend themselves. So we gave them recommendations. And when the card came out in California, a whole lot of people went, yeah, you know, I don't want my name on paper with a government agency about using pot because it affects a lot of things, my licensure for, you know, medicine, psychology, teaching, things like that. So it just never took off here in California. And there is this huge question out there about Second Amendment rights and using pot, using weed, cannabis, whatever term you want to use here. Now, what I found interesting as I read the complaint last night is they were citing Dale Geringer, Mitch Earlywine, and some people that I have worked with and participated in, you know, coming up with the history of cannabis. And if you want to get a little snippet into George Washington and Jefferson, apparently using hot hemp, how O'Shaughnessy brought Indian hemp back to the Western medicine because it was a great seizure control medicine, and that historically no one's ever been deprived their gun rights because they used a medical substance. And that's where the state of Second Amendment law seems to be. Back in 2008, in a case called Heller, the Supreme Court said, look, historically, we're going to look back at the language of the Second Amendment and historically how it's been treated. And that's been further refined up as late as 2022, where they're going to read the Second Amendment and look back in history. How was it handled historically to see if we're going to allow any restrictions on your gun rights, okay? And there's no evidence that I can find historically where somebody who used substances, medical substances, was deprived of their Second Amendment rights, okay? And that's basically where they're hanging their hat. Then we look at the language. You can't write a law that takes away my Second Amendment rights. We have a law that takes away your Second Amendment rights. Is this going to be legal? And historically, you know, nobody ever said you can't get a gun because you smoke pot, you take heroin, you drink. None of that stuff's ever happened. Okay? So what I'm hoping for is that we get this case to move up the chain of command quickly. I could put some pressure on the federal government to do something about this. But it also points out the problems behind the scenes here of us trying to advance federal policy, because most of the real draconian cannabis language came about since California and Colorado legalized marijuana. Behind the scenes, they have been writing these into regulations and statutes coming out of Congress that are definitely not friendly to marijuana or cannabis. So there's a lot of back pressure here, and I'm hopeful the courts will look at this and throw it in the trash. Say, no, you can't do this, and let's start over again. That's some more pressure to take a look at the status of cannabis. I think it should be out of the Controlled Substances Act completely and be treated more like alcohol, but that's my position, and I'm hoping that the courts overturn their apple cart here and make them start over again. That's my story for the day. Back at you all. What do you think about this?
Man, shout out to this lawyer, Dale. This guy's a freedom-fighting champion right here.
Yeah.
He's still the DA. He's going to be the DA there till 2025.
Man,
He's got some stones on him, that's for sure.
This guy is the champion, and he's in Pennsylvania.
I love this.
What's that, Jason?
And he's out of Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
Man, this is fantastic.
Well, I've been waiting for this because I've known, cops are not so agreeable to smoking weed back when I was representing them. But DAs, I run into a bunch of them that like to smoke weed. They weren't afraid of that.
Yeah.
And this guy's he's a pot smoking DA.
Yep.
Okay. And it's medical.
This is obviously very exciting for us. And I love this argument. I think it has legs. And every time that the topic of gun access or ownership comes into question as it pertains to cannabis use or, whether you own a business or any ties to cannabis, you're not allowed to have guns, which is absolutely crazy. I just can't help but think my brain automatically taps into the alcohol culture that's within our law enforcement and military. These people are handed guns like over and over and over, the most high-powered guns that are made. And there is a huge alcohol culture in there. And how many individuals turn to alcohol when they're feeling suicidal and end up killing themselves with firearms? I mean, there's just so much inequity here. And then also, I am in no way, shape, or form tied to this company, but I think there is a slight short-term alternative for cannabis users. Have you guys seen this Byrna thing? It's like a gun that shoots rubber bullets.
Yes.
And it's, quote, less lethal, and you don't have to have a license of any sort.
And you can just carry it around.
Interesting. Worthy of taking a look at.
Pop people with it. Pow, pow, pow.
I mean, it still can be lethal. You hit somebody in the right place.
It's less lethal.
Dry out, kid.
Yeah, you shoot somebody in the nuts.
Listen, I hate to
get killed from rubber bullets. I'm just saying, and riots ain't new.
I thought people only got killed from rubber bullets on prison yards.
You saw during the pandemic. I don't know if we can say this and get demonetized, but during the pandemic, you saw cats in Minnesota were getting ran up on by the SWAT team with rubber bullets and everything, and a couple people didn't wake up from that. So just saying,
just saying, rubber bullets.
I hate to sound like a broken record every time we have this issue come up, but to me, it's so ludicrous that we are talking about taking somebody's amendment, the Bill of Rights, the thing that we established as a country. Like, we were ready to die for this thing, right? And we are ready to take somebody's Second Amendment right and take it away because of a medication that works for them. Let's simplify it down to that. You are telling somebody that they do not have the right to bear arms because they use a medication that makes them suffer less.
I agree with you, Luke.
So
it's such hypocrisy.
let me take that a step further now. Okay, so we have HHS and we have the numerous people in the federal government right now that are moving down to a Schedule 3. It's an obvious move. I anticipate it being within the next 90 days, possibly. And so we have now basically a tentative medical acceptance of the medical efficacy of cannabis. So you are now saying the federal government has recognized the medical efficacy of cannabis, but I still cannot possess a firearm and protect my family, even though it's a recognized medicine by you. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And again, as a people, please, we have to be very, very careful when we make laws that restrict our rights. Be very careful, because it's incremental when these steps happen. And before you know it, you wake up and you won't have any rights left. So please, it's a very slippery slope. Do not touch these amendments unless it is absolutely necessary.
And I don't think it's ever really necessary to touch these amendments. But on that, we got to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Oh, yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. We'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. This industry expert and head honcho of the Women's Canna Awards is one of the most gracious and generous hosts in the game. I'll tell y'all what. Carmen Sacramento and her boo Luke Scarmazzo and the whole Profit Cannabis team took care of me and Jason last Friday when we went up there for the launch and had a grand old time. Just wanted to make sure that I said my piece and show some love for that too. Come to the stage, my lady, Mandy Tingler. What you got for us today, Mandy?
Good morning, Hyatt Niners. Happy Wednesday. This week has been full of amazing, energizing momentum. And yes, Rico and Jason, thank you so much for coming up and supporting us last week. It was so special to have you come up and make that journey and be a part of our big day. It meant the world. Thank you so much. You guys, today my story comes to us from across the border and our little neighbors in Canada. After reading their, quote, reminder story this morning, I'm looking forward to everyone's commentary on this. It is short but sweet, and I'm sure many of you will be able to relate. So today, my headline reads, Dog owners warned after marijuana poisoning in Sudbury. Dog owners in a Suffolk town are being warned by vets after animals suffered marijuana poisoning. Ardmore Vets at Sudbury is warning people to be vigilant when walking around the town after treating 3 animals with suspected marijuana toxicity in the last 2 weeks. The vets has said that the dogs have been treated had walked along the Friars Meadow and in the fields near Omerston Sudbury Academy. The spokesperson for the vets said death is extremely rare, but still possible, and owners should take their pets to a vet immediately if they believe they have eaten or inhaled marijuana products. And folks, for those of you who don't know, signs of pet marijuana poisoning include the following: inactivity, incoordination, dilated pupils, increased sensitivity to touch, motion, and sound, hypersalivation, urinary incontinence, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, and comas. I don't know about you guys, but this sounds like some kind of pharmaceutical medical commercial that I'm seeing on TV right now. Now, I told you this article is short and sweet, but I'm really curious to hear from my fellow commentators about any kind of interactions that this article might be bringing up for you and what your experience with animals consuming cannabis has been like. This is Mandy for High 9 News.
Sounds a bit hysterical to me.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of hysteria.
Yeah. There was a time in the late 1800s where they used dogs specifically to test the potency of weed or cannabis products. And I don't know. I mean, this vet alluded, it could kill you. No, I haven't yet to hear of a mammal that has died from an overdose of cannabinoids. It's not. So we call it a poison. There's a misnomer to start with. That's scare tactics. That's hysteria. And I can remember 50-something years ago, some friends of mine had a little puppy. We used to blow smoke in his face, and Bumper would jump off the couch and couldn't get his legs out. You get a whole lot you do when you get really fucked up on weed. Dogs do the same thing. So this is a bit of hysteria. And yeah, if you see your dog eating something, and you should watch him. And if he gets into a coma, maybe you call the vet then. The rest of this just seems like horse shit.
Dale, I'm calling BS on this again. Like this, we had this vet say, hey, if your dog eats weed, it has the potential to cause death. So make sure you bring him to my vet. Come on, man.
Oh, he's advertising for his clinic.
Yeah, false advertisement. I'm calling BS on your false advertisement. Your dog could eat 10 pounds of weed and there wouldn't be a problem with him. Let him ride the wave and he'll be all right.
Tucker and Kevin Savet will have a field day with this, right?
God, this
my
is just nonsense.
Your dog. Only my vet clinic.
I mean, listen, I'm not proud to admit that my dogs have accidentally accessed edibles over the course of a few times in my life. And they're both here standing still. You just heard one of them barking a moment ago. This does not kill them. It's not fun to watch them be really high. And some of those symptoms that they listed do happen. Absolutely, they do.
And it's not fun to clean up their mess.
Yet to hear, like Dale said, of any mammal dying from a cannabis overdose. But you can get off murder if you use weed a lot and you're also white. And
you might not be able to die, but you can make someone else die.
Well, I think the key is hiring that lawyer.
Chocolate, right? Yeah, this is not chocolate, right? If they eat an edible,
chocolate. Yeah, it'll make their heart race and they'll die.
Whatever you do.
And you can buy that over the counter in every grocery store in America.
Here's what you do if your pet consumes THC and you feel like they are really intoxicated.
Put on cartoons.
I thought you just put on the dog network.
Food and water. Probably put a towel under them because they sometimes do lose bladder control. Just let them sleep it off.
Yeah,
that's it. Fine. Do not rush to the vet unless you have extra money to throw in the vet's bank account. You could just send that money to the vet. You don't even have to go there if you really want to spend it. And stay home. Stay calm. Relax.
Yeah.
Be all
so,
right.
Mandy,
all of our viewers.
Mandy, are you saying that they shouldn't get a plane ticket to go out to Canada and get their dog taken care of? This vet.
I thought this vet was in the UK.
There too.
Apply to a medical marijuana card. Okay, there you go. Let's fix it.
I have had dogs come into the dispensary before they did have medical cannabis cards for their recommendations for seizure disorders. That I have had that happen.
Yeah, it's great for seizures, and to control seizures, sometimes you give a high enough dose that you knock their ass out for 10, 12, maybe 24 hours. You used to do it to little children, and no one got even upset because having a seizure uncontrolled is a lot more dangerous than using weed.
A couple of years ago, I adopted a senior dog who was in its definite last few months of life and just needed a good home and was having serious arthritis and appetite issues. And I was giving this dog tinctures in order to help it. And its quality of life drastically improved because of cannabis. So, this article's garbage. I am calling this vet today. I will let you guys know next week how it went.
Oh, man.
I'm just going to say this real quick, is anyone... To all our viewers, if your dog eats weed and you're thinking about rushing him to a vet and paying $300, $400, or $500, you can call me on FaceTime. I'm not a vet, but I have watched several episodes of Animal Planet, and I will make sure that your dog gets through this episode okay, and I will only charge you a very small fee.
So not only the prophet, but also a dog whisperer, too.
Yes.
Yes, and on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back. Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition.
Got us, Jason?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you had this, Rico. Oh, is it me? Oh, shit. Fuck, damn it. Sam, my bad. Son of a bitch.
You gotta get off that high potency. You gotta get off that high potency, bro.
Man,
you can't use that as an excuse, bro.
You know what? My bad. I apologize. But coming up next, that's right. It's our very own Outlaw correspondent, Mr. Luke Scarmazzo, who just released his brand, the Profit brand, where you can find at select retailers across the state of California. Not to mention, too, he just released a book on Amazon. That's right. That is all called The High Price. So make sure that you order now and get yourself a copy and support Luke on his journey, on his comeback tour. That's right, is none other than Mr. Luke Scarmazzo.
Yes. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hump day. You know what it is. It's your neighborhood outlaw correspondent coming to you live and direct on High at 9 News. And man, we got a really... This outlaw story right here is really good. You guys are going to be happy that you stayed tuned in for this one. I'm just going to jump right into it because there's so much here that we're going to cut this up really nicely. But don't forget, if you missed out at Pheno's this weekend about what we've been talking about, the huge launch, you can catch us today in Merced at Blue Fire from 3 to 5 p.m. And we'll have swag and a bunch of stuff going on. So pull up and tap in. But this article comes from Commerce City. And it says the Commerce City councilwoman faces felony marijuana charges following a report of a leaked new photo. Spicy. A member of the Commerce City Council was arrested recently on felony charges involving marijuana, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the GBI. Councilwoman Rashonda Merritt, 43, of Commerce, surrendered to the Jackson County Jail on Friday, where she was charged with criminal attempt to commit the sale of marijuana and use of a telecommunications facility to facilitate a felony, the GBI reported. The allegations surfaced during an unrelated investigation by the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, which was investigating a complaint by Merritt that a nude photo of her had been posted on social media. During the investigation, the drug allegations surfaced in December, and Jackson County Sheriff Janice Magnum said she asked the GBI, Appalachian Regional Drug Enforcement Office, to investigate the drug allegation. The officers cover 30 counties in Northeast Georgia. I'm glad that you guys have 30 counties to cover in Georgia, and this was a priority to use your resources. The drug unit filed the charges, and the GBI reported the drug investigation is ongoing. So we're spending more money. Magnum said Monday that the investigation into Merritt's initial complaint is also ongoing. I anticipate some charges coming out of that, she said. Okay. Merritt, in her report on December 9th to the sheriff's office, said she believes that the photo of her was taken about 7 years ago and believes a former friend may be responsible for what happened last year. Sheriff's investigators have the names of possible suspects who may be involved in posting that picture and others. So, a picture of you ends up on social media. You don't know how it did. You gave a bunch of names of people potentially that could have posted it, I guess. And because you raised all this hell over this picture that you took that you don't know who posted, that you have given a group of names of people that potentially could have posted it, they came and investigated and found weed. And now you're going down for the weed in Georgia. This is like, there's so much going on right here. And like, number one, GBI, why are you wasting your time with a city councilwoman who obviously consumes cannabis and was trying to seek your guys' help on a picture that ended up on the internet. Like, why are we wasting resources on that? That's my main question to you guys. You guys cover 30 counties, it said, and this was where we decided to prioritize the resources of GBI. That's my first thing. Second thing is, like, we arrested a city councilwoman for cannabis. This is today. This is in 2024. This woman's life is destroyed in Georgia over that. I feel really bad for her. So, you know, listen, the war on drugs is still raging. I still cover these outlaw correspondents. I still cover these outlaw news stories every week. Every single week. And we're going to keep covering them here at High at 9 News because they are the stories that matter. So this is Luke Scarmazzo coming to you live and direct, your neighborhood outlaw correspondent, kicking it back to my correspondents and say, hey, what do you guys think about this craziness that's going on in Georgia?
Luke, here's the thing.
Tells the politics to me.
I have a question. I'm a little confused on this. So a picture was posted on social media. That's correct? And they're saying that they can't figure out who posted it, but yet you have to have an account in order to post something on a social media account. So how would you not be able to know who posted this photo?
Yeah, the whole story in this, the thing surrounding the nude picture is really vague. It said that it was posted. It was a picture from 7 years ago. She said she thinks she might know a friend that have it. And then they said there was a group of names that were given that potentially could have did it. And then the sheriff said that charges are coming out of that.
Yeah, but that's still besides the point, because it's like, if you let's just say any of those people could have had the photo, but when you post something on social media, that is associated with a profile. So that is whoever posted it. Like this, it's pretty cut and dry.
Let me catch you up to speed in 2024 here. There are people who do make fake profiles, and, you know, they have, you know, VPNs that they can shift around their IP addresses and stuff. It's crazy. I know, you know, me and you, we just attached like messages to the feet of pigeons and off they went. But, you know, today they got sophisticated stuff where I could actually get somebody to post something. You'd have no idea who it came from.
It's big tech.
Yeah, but they're trying to destroy this woman. It looks to me like because she's in a political position. Okay, that's why they got real interested here. I'm going
to call it out again on the surface level, Dale. It's black woman in a position of power, in a governmental position, that is now getting taken down for possessing cannabis.
Do we know if she's a Republican or a Democrat?
I mean, and let's not forget that anytime a woman is in a leadership position and caught doing something in her private life, that suddenly becomes everybody's business. It's
oh yeah, that's what they did in Virginia to that one
double
lady.
Standard.
Yep.
And my experience inside the law enforcement community is these guys are fucking like rabbits every place you look. Okay, so to take a snapshot of somebody in law enforcement and go, okay, you're being hypocritical because you're saying, oh, she slept with somebody or took a nude picture 6 or 7 years ago. It's like, I've been inside. I've sat down and had closed door meetings with my clients, and it's like, they're doing what, when, where, what inside law enforcement. And you guys are out there going after somebody who, as last I checked, women are in charge of their sexuality. If you want to get, have sex with somebody, it ain't nobody else's business. Why is that becoming an issue? Because women can't publicly be out there being sexually active and be in a position of leadership. The whole thing is just, it's nonsensical. It's a double standard. And I just smell politics, especially out of Georgia right now. There's so much political bullshit going on with a Fonnie Willis and tapping her, some guy getting a divorce. Now we're going to hear about all his divorce problems. I don't give two shits about his divorce. I don't care who she's having sex with. Okay. Yeah. Why is this an issue?
Just help this woman figure out who did the picture thing. And then if you found weed in the course of that, who cares? Just help the woman on what she called you guys to do. That's a crazy thought, right?
I remember the California Narcotics Officers Association here in California just absolutely refusing to let go of the idea that weed's addictive, it's going to kill you, it's going to ruin society, right up until the time they were told, sit down and shut up. Okay? Inside law enforcement, there are rabid anti-cannabis people out there, and that's why this is happening.
Luke,
the tail wagging the dog.
Luke, you know what I'm disappointed about?
It ain't like an old girl from Tennessee, like she was taking on the whole cop team. You know what I'm saying? Like this lady had some shit leaked.
Well,
she had her shit
Who
leaked.
cares about nudes anymore?
Well, look,
Right.
I mean, porn's free.
look, I'm
You can
disappointed.
see all the nudes you want for free online. Who cares?
I'm
cares?
not.
Like OnlyFans
Also,
OnlyFans is
whoever the hell is
did.
lame enough.
you know,
to be
OnlyFans is
sending
getting
out
people paid.
a picture.
Hold on.
Whoever is
OnlyFans
lame
has a
enough
major,
that they don't have.
major employment payment gap between men and women.
You know, OnlyFans?
Yep.
How does that make you feel, Jason? Are you triggered?
Just saying.
Yeah.
But you know,
OnlyFans is stimulus, man. It's economic and physical stimulus.
I'm really disappointed in this story, Luke. I have to tell you, is because they told us all about this picture, but they didn't share the picture with us, so that way we could see what the picture actually looked like. They're just referencing a picture that we can't.
I've never seen a naked
get the
woman.
picture.
I want to see it, right?
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's
like,
bait.
let's see what all the talk's about. Since we're all going to talk about it.
And also, whoever did decide to post this picture, and whoever out there decides that they're going to take someone else's nude photo and air out their laundry to other people, you're the problem. You're the idiot. You're the asshole.
Hold on. Wait a second. You guys are all talking about a nude picture. I thought it was just a picture of weed.
Does Georgia not have a revenge porn law on their books? I'm serious. Like,
I'm sure they do.
I'm pretty sure California has a revenge porn law where you can't do that shit. Like,
yeah, they definitely do.
Anybody who posts like news like without consent of that person, like you can get locked up for that shit.
Yeah, and
An invasion of privacy.
And shout out to Steve Blassingham. He says in the chat, he says, I guess everything other than peaches is a no-go in Georgia. Oh man!
Basically,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Steve's a dad.
On that, I'm gonna roll into this last story. This is a little shorty, little quickie, but it's very, very important stuff. You guys, are you ready? All right, roll ready or not. There's a group proposes easing access to medical marijuana in Arkansas after record sales. That's right. Arkansas marijuana business is lush with green. Driving in the news is on the heels of a record year for the state medical marijuana sales, $283 million. A group is seeking to get a constitutional amendment on the Arkansas ballot that would relax the state laws. And the proposed ballot measure drafted by the Arkansas for Patient Access would update state law on several key points, allowing patients and caregivers to grow up to 7 mature and 7 younger marijuana plants, expanding who can certify patients to include physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and pharmacists, permitting providers to qualify patients based on any medical need rather than the state's 18 conditions, and allowing assessments through telemedicine. And recognizing patient cards from other states or allowing non-residents to obtain Arkansas cards. And they also say increasing the expiration date for new cards from 1 to 3 years. And the proposed amendment also effectively creates a trigger that will allow any adult to possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana in Arkansas if it becomes legal under federal law. So it's also basically default legalization. And a flashback for you guys. Arkansas voters rejected a ballot measure for adult use marijuana back in 2022, and the state of play is the tax revenue from medical marijuana was $31 million in 2023, down from $32 million in 2022, and topped $120 million since the industry began in mid-2019. 6.5% of sales to cardholders and dispensaries goes to the state's general tax revenue used to pay for the state government, and 4% of all sales to cardholders previously went to the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, but now goes to help fund free meals for public school students in need. And by the numbers, there are 38 dispensaries across the state, along with 8 cultivations and 9 licensed processors. And the state's 97,000 medical card holders bought 62,227 pounds in 2023, up 23% from 50,605 in 2022. The 4 dispensaries in NWA accounted for 16.5% of statewide marijuana sales back in 2023, and NWA sales were up 5.5% last year. Meanwhile, a dispensary opened earlier last month in Pineville, Missouri, about half a mile from the Arkansas-Missouri state line, and Missouri allows for adult use for anyone 21 and over. And it will likely take a few months to see if a new facility siphons any business from Benton County's 2 dispensaries. And to stay tuned to what's next, you're going to have to hear it here on High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this?
I got an unpopular opinion on this one, man.
Mm-hmm.
They need to kill this shit immediately because it's going to get the Sacklers off.
This
is medical marijuana. No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. This is medical marijuana. And since it's medical, you are citing record sales as to easing access to the drug. Record sales was given to OxyContin, and they eased access to OxyContin and created an epidemic.
So you're saying they're going to create a weed epidemic? Is that what you're worried about?
I'm saying
weed ain't addictive like that.
I see what you're doing there, Rico. I see what you're doing there, Rico.
Reefer Madness right here. I can see the Sacklers legal team saying, citing this, like, yo, they did that shit. Give us our money back.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's not, yeah.
No, I think we should put them in jail. That's what they need to do. In an orange suit with a fucking fork for a while.
Yeah, they need to be put under the jail, but we need to stop treating medical and recreational different, and just go forward and just give access to everybody to this.
Well, this kind of does. It says basically anyone can possess up to an ounce that's 21 or over. So that's basically default legalization inside of this bill. Even though they just can't purchase it, they can possess it.
Right. I'm just saying, like, their argument tying it to record sales and citing it as medical cannabis and not just saying cannabis. That's a slippery slope right there.
That's because all they have is medical sales to go off of, and they had record numbers in the state in their medical market. I mean, they didn't have a trap calculator to be able to quantify how many illicit market sales were happening in Arkansas. There's nothing to compare it to.
It's a slippery slope when you're saying you have all those Reefer Madness people. This is the South they're talking about. You can have people pushing back on that, talking about how dangerous it is, blah, 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 blah. You're already saying that it's as bad as heroin, bad as all this other shit. Like, I see a battle brewing here, and get your popcorn ready, y'all. Get your popcorn ready.
You called it first. If there is, Rico, you called it first.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's Arkansas, right? Is she Alabama? Can't remember.
She is the governor of Arkansas. Shout out to Sarah.
Tell me, where's the podium? Where's the podium? What happened to that podium?
She doesn't need a podium.
I mean, shout out to the old, Razorbacks over there.
Yeah.
So the state of Arkansas is like really, I forget what they call it. It's like the wilderness state. No, it's like it's lush. There's a lot of vegetation, a lot of growth around there.
A lot of foliage.
Shout out to the Henrys and shout out to Vance Murray, 2 of my people that are over in Arkansas, and tremendous weed cannabis advocates. But listen, the South is behind us and behind the rest of the country when it comes to legalization and when it comes to cannabis policy, right? So you're seeing a lot of these policies that come out of the South that look a lot like the things that were happening in the beginning of the medical movements back in 96 and 98 and the early 2000s, because nobody's learning. And then you have the little mixture of like the Southern culture of anti-weed and over-incarceration and all those other things that mix into that pot right there too. So, the South is coming along. It's incremental. We're covering these stories about Arkansas, about Mississippi, about Alabama, Louisiana, and we're covering them. And I know, like, to us, we make fun of them and we laugh about them, but they are incremental progress, and I get it. There's all kinds of stuff that's messed up in that progress, but it is actually still a step in the right direction of it, more people having access to it and less people going to jail for it. And in the South, that's a real thing. That is a real thing. So, applause.
Agreed.
All right, Rico, I think it's time to go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode, a very spicy episode today, too, of High at 9 News. Catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans, showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team, tuning in from all over, bringing us much-needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. To our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all our sponsors keeping the lights on and our AV struggles to a minimum. And, of course, Adam, my man, back there, keeping us straight and just brushing, keeping that shit feathered like Mike Tyson's pigeon coop. That's a terrible one.
Damn, son.
Jeez, as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason High 9 News team reads these headlines every single day. Thank you, too. It has been Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And we're going to push this one right back to Mandy Tingler. What you got for us? You going to take us out?
Well, let's see, you guys. If you haven't already visited Amazon and checked out Luke Scarmazzo's novel, High Price, do so now. You're missing out on a really great story, and that's not just the girlfriend talking. That's actually somebody who really enjoyed it and has read it more than once.
Aww.
High Price.
And they call it puppy love.